Since I found out my daughter wanted to do some stand-up comedy, I thought, what's it like being a stand-up comedian? So the other day we got an opportunity to catch up with a young guy in Melbourne who not only is doing some writing for the project, but is also doing some stand-up comedy. And he's got quite a story to tell us. Let's see now if you can join us on The Informer. Welcome, Michael Shafer.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Exciting that your daughter wants to get into stand-up comedy. Has she jumped on stage yet?
Yeah, well, she's doing some improv at the moment. I asked her the other day, why stand-up? She says, my father. And they went, what? She says, he gives me so much material. Now tell me something.
I can relate to that. Most of my comedy is just about my parents, my auntie, my cousins. They're all crazy, so they give me a lot of material. It's great.
So, young Melbourne boy from Czech parentage or Czech heritage, that's where you get your best info, yes, from the family.
Yeah. Well, I've got, crazy, Ashkenazi Jewish family. They're all neurotic. They're all insane. They're all very classic kind of like New York Jewish type of, stereotypes. So, yeah, they certainly give me a lot of fodder, that's for sure. It's always tricky because they'll come to my show and then they'll just see me talking about them on stage for 50 minutes. And then I always have very awkward conversations with them after the show when they're like, I didn't know you was talking about me on stage. I'm like, well, got to find material somewhere.
Fantastic. But you don't need, the family to provide you with information and material. You've got it all around you in your life, the people you work with. And of course, you've been on this personal journey to fight cancer. And you haven't done it once, mate. You've done it a couple of times, incredibly. And that's some effort, and we hope that you continue to keep fighting it. You have to keep checking in with the medicos to make sure you're in remission.
Yeah, so I've had testicular cancer the last few years. I had a relapse of it last year in July during the Melbourne second lockdown. So that's what I was doing while everyone else was locked down. I was just smashing out some chemo last year. But
smashing chemo,
it seems sort of a job, which is good.
Smashing chemo.
So, smashing chemo. Everyone else was like, what are you doing during lockdown? Oh, I'm running a TV show. I was like, oh, well, I'm just beating cancer. So, we're all staying productive during lockdown, and that's important. But yeah, I'm fortunate that the treatment seems to have gone really well. So I'm in remission now and everything's looking very clear and very good. So, but yeah, as you said, I'm kind of in that post-treatment phase where they do scan me and check me pretty regularly. And it'll probably be like that for another 2 years or so. But the doctors are very, very happy with where I'm at.
We're talking to Michael Shafer, stand-up comedian, who's been fighting quite some fight to not only stay alive, but to stay as funny as he can be. Take us back a couple of years when you were first diagnosed. Were you getting ready for the Adelaide Fringe Festival at the time, or what?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed at the end of 2017. So at that point, I had just done my first ever show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. I had just, gotten a job writing for the project and was writing there full time. So I was pretty flat out. And then, I was preparing to write and tour a new show in Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne in 2018. And then, then I got the diagnosis in October 2017. So, it just meant I had to go straight in for surgery to remove my right testicle. I went straight in to do chemotherapy and was doing chemo for about 3-4 months over the end of 2017.
They say in life you've got to be passionate, you've got to have a bit of zip about you, and you've got to be brave. You've used all that material in some of your comedy. You said you lost a testicle. That became part of your routine, did it? Your comedy sketch.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to look on the positives. Every cloud has a silver lining. I lost a testicle, but now I feel comfortable in my skinny jeans, So, there's things and roundabouts, So, you always got to be positive, I think, when, bad stuff happens to you. I lost about 6 kilos going through the treatment, for example. And my mum's best friend, she's a very optimistic person. She said to me, Michael, that's why I like to be a little bit overweight, so that if I get cancer, I'll come down to a healthy weight. That's a great positive attitude that I think we should all have. If she gets cancer, that's a win for her. That's fantastic. I think it's all about being positive and finding the positives.
I've never quite thought about it in that way, but you see, perspective is absolutely everything. Now, listen, you're a Melbourne boy. Do you have a favourite football team?
I mean, bizarrely, I go for the Sydney Swans. They're my team. I've been following them my whole life. I know it's embarrassing because I never had like a strong, family pressure to follow a football club. So when I was 7, I turned on the TV. Tony Lockett was kicking goals. I was like, all right, I'll just follow him. So now I'm stuck with them.
Can I just give you a heads up? They were originally the Bloods. They were from South Melbourne. So it really is a Melbourne team just playing away from home an awful lot, okay? And I was the president of South Melbourne Football Club at the other code, and we used to share Lakeside Stadium or Bob Jane. And whenever they did come down, in fact, during the time they won the grand final, the first time in 70 plus years, they were all around us. So I feel the vibe. I feel the vibe, mate.
Well, I used to play football for Ajax, the amateur football club in the VAFA. And we used to basically play on the oval next to the South Melbourne Football Club. So we used to just steal each other's footies like kind of every week. They'd steal one of ours, we stole one of them. Theirs. It was just kind of a bit of a quid pro quo.
Did you not play fullback?
I played fullback. I played centre half back, and then one year our ruckman went down early in the year, so they threw me into the ruck. A 6-foot Jewish man in the ruck against a 7-foot Gentile monster every week. I was dodging knees the whole time I was in the ruck.
Michael Shafer, this is about providing you with fodder. They could see that deep down the track you would need an awful lot of material. But listen, take me back to those football days. I bet you would have had some crazy guys playing with you who would have had all manner of secret recipes and rituals before a game. Were there any that stood out that appealed to you?
Well, I used to get into a lot of trouble from my teammates because I would always eat 2 cans of tuna before every match. It just became a part of my routine. I liked to have some protein before a match. So I ate 2 cans of tuna in the team meeting, and I just stunk up the whole change room. Everyone hated me, and everyone started calling me Tuna, and that was pretty much my nickname for about 5 years.
So, Michael Tuna Shafer, did it help you as a fullback? Did the opposition want to stay away from you?
Yeah, I think it actually helped kind of annoy the opposition full forward because I had very strong tuna breath when I'd walk out there. So they'd be like, what has this guy been eating? They hated me, the full forwards. They absolutely hated me. I think it was a part of my success, perhaps.
Now, listen, what's next for young Michael Shafer? As we know, you've been at the Melbourne Music Festival. You've done The Fringe. I reckon The Fringe is one of the best comedy programs in the country. I had a chance to spend some time in Adelaide and really enjoyed not only the vibe, but some of the great venues. Are you finding the same sort of thing in Melbourne, or is Adelaide unique and very different?
Look, Adelaide is definitely very unique because I was just there performing. I like how you're appreciating the subtext of what I'm saying there. Adelaide is a very unique festival because I was performing in an outdoor venue there this year. So it was the first time where I've been performing outdoors and getting heckled by bats. I was doing COVID material and the bats would start chirping away. They did not like the COVID material, these bats. Audiences were getting pooed on by possums. It was hectic stuff. You really had to have your wits about you performing outdoors in a park. A lot of fun, but definitely has those challenges. So I'm really enjoying being at the Melbourne Comedy Festival where I'm in a room with walls and a ceiling. It's very, very nice. I feel spoiled by it.
It's the comfort zone. Also, I bet you're not having to use subtitles in Melbourne. Is that right? You'd have to need subtitles in Adelaide, wouldn't you, to break down some of the deeply disturbing messages you want to give them?
Yeah, perhaps a little bit. There's definitely different crowds, and so I definitely frame my material a bit differently in Adelaide a little bit, just because also I talk a lot about being Jewish, and in Adelaide there's not really any Jewish culture there, so to talk about that is really confusing to people. They have no point of reference. So, some things require a bit more explanation.
Mate, in Adelaide, the only Jewish input they've had is Seinfeld.
Yeah, and even that, I'm not sure if they've seen Seinfeld. So I'm their first they've ever seen. So, I'm very excited.
The X-Files, brought to you by Michael Shafer. Okay, what's next? Is there another festival in the wind? If the skies ever open around the world again, is there a chance for you to do Edinburgh and other festivals around the world?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, no one knows if the Edinburgh Festival will go ahead this year. I think they are optimistic about it happening, but I can't imagine they'll have any internationals heading over. So maybe I'll try get there next year. I was planning to go there in 2020, but obviously, couldn't. So hopefully next year. But for now, I'm just kind of pretty happy touring around Australia. I'm going to go to the Sydney Comedy Festival at the end of April. Then I'm doing a show in Brisbane in May. Then I'm going to head to Perth in June and Darwin in July. So just trying to hit up all the cities and just trying to, make the most of it.
Who are your comedy heroes?
Oh, I got so many. I mean, there's so many great ones in Australia. There's guys like Dave Hughes and Will Anderson and Tom Gleeson, who I just think have been so funny for so long and find a way to still be really relevant after 20, 25 years of doing it. It's like so impressive. Then you got guys in the US who are just like always pushing boundaries and, doing something really interesting. I've always found like Bill Burr is quite, inspiring for me, the way he justifies a lot of his awful opinions in a funny way. That's quite inspiring for me. Michelle Wolf, she's an amazing comedian over in the US as well. I saw her show in Melbourne 2 years ago, and it just blew me away at how polished it was and just how clever it was. So yeah, there's so many great comedians in Australia, which is really good, just because you get to see them perform live, you get to learn from them. It creates a really strong culture.
And before we wrap this up, who is the funniest member of the team at the project?
Who's the funniest member? I mean, I guess you have to say, Pete Hellier is paid to be the funniest member, so I'm going to say Pete. But I'll tell you what, the other guys can all tell a joke. I mean, like, Waleed can crack a joke. He's kind of like unexpectedly funny, Waleed. And Carrie as well, like, Carrie can certainly crack a few jokes. Even Lisa, we kind of sometimes, pitch jokes for Lisa and she nails it. So, they're all kind of funny in their own way.
Michael Shafer, it's been great finding out about what makes you tick. We wish you all the success and good health, most importantly. It's amazing to hear any young person fighting cancer, but it's even more amazing to hear that you've fought it off twice. Long may it continue, and let's see what's up next, what chapter is waiting for you in the Michael Shafer story on the comedy scene or routine around Australia. We might see you in Sydney, mate, or if you're around in Melbourne, I'll bring you a couple of cans of tuna.
Yeah, bring it before the show. I think the front row will hate it, but bring it before the show.
Do you have a preference for brand?
Oh, I think John West. I don't really have that much tuna anymore, but I think John West was my brand at the time. So shout out to John West. I'm not sure if they sponsor the show, but they do some good work over there. It's good stuff.
Chili or no chili?
No chili. No, I can't have chili before a match. It's going to upset my stomach. I can't do that before I run a lot. No chili.
Michael Shafer, it's been great catching up on The Informer. Thank you very much, mate. All the very best.
Thanks for having me.
Good on you.
Thank you.